I'm happy to say that our referee, the one and only JK, has survived the comrades. Good morning, Jonathan Kaplan.
Morning, Blades. How was your weekend?
My weekend was busy-ish. I was in Durban for a breakfast on Thursday and a dinner on Friday night. Then leapt on an early plane Thursday night. Leapt on an early plane on Friday, and then I went out to Kreersdorp to watch Mono's thrash Glenwood. So it's all quite busy. And how was the comrades?
Just big picture-wise, I think it's a fantastic South African institution. I mean, that race is world recognized, and it's something we can be really proud of. The organizers, the committee that puts that whole thing together. It was a magnificent day. I mean, I was very lucky. The weather was good. I was running downhill the first marathon was flat, but the second marathon was downhill.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I must say the camaraderie, the spirit, the people on the side of the road, the pain that you go through. You have so many good times and so many bad times on one day.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. But anyway, I finished. I did a 10:52, so I got a bronze. And just quite strange. I was looking up in the paper today. I finished 6,900 blah blah, and there were about 12,000 finishes.
Yeah.
And so most of, at least 5,000 of the field finished in the last hour.
Isn't that amazing, hey?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do they still have that situation where the guy turns his back on the runners and fires the gun?
Yes, they do.
They do.
And it's tragic.
I know. I've been there. I saw a guy, literally, he was 2 meters short. 2 meters short. If you don't know, what happens is after 11 hours, isn't it? They fire a gun. It is 11 hours, isn't it?
It used to be 11. They extended it a few years ago to 12 hours.
Okay.
But there's still many people who don't make the 12-hour cutoff. So
yeah, I'm sure. So the guy with the gat turns around, turns his back to the runners because he can't be sympathetic, and fires a gun on the stroke of 12 hours. And I say it used to be 11 hours. And I saw a guy, I tell you, I had tears in my eyes. He was 2 meters short when the gun went off.
Yeah, and Blades, if you consider that a lot of the back markers, it took me 8.5 minutes to cross the start line because of the volume of people at the start.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you're trundling along, there's a lot of times where you're walking and you're thinking, okay, I should get going now. Nah, I'll just walk a little bit more. And sometimes, those guys that miss it by a couple of minutes, it's always on the back of their mind.
I know. Incredible. Well done. And the one thing when I seconded the guys, I was on a motor scooter, and it was the days when, you could individually, I mean, my guy took 10 hours, 45 minutes or something. And in fact, about 4 Ks from the end, he said, I can't go any longer. I grabbed him by the vest and said, get on your bloody feet. I haven't been here all day to watch you sit down on the pavement. And but what was fun for me at the start of what became quite a tedious day was the pace that the front, and I'm talking 20 years ago, the pace that the front runners ran at. It was quite phenomenal.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
This is the greatest ultra marathon in the world.
Yeah.
And like I said, we can be so proud of the fact that we host the event, and we host it in such a magnificent way.
Yeah.
It really Blades. It's such. I mean, I'm not. I never claim to be athletic or anything. I just plod along. I do my thing. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant for that area, the Natal area, and KwaZulu-Natal, and it's brilliant for South Africa that we can host all these foreigners that come into the country and spread the word about the comrades. I'm very happy. There was a time where a lot of the Russians were winning our races, and I'm so happy that we had a South African winner again.
And an English, what was it? An English lady runner. Yes, we haven't had a South African winner for moons, huh?
Yeah, there were a couple after Frith, but I think Frith van der Merwe was.
Yeah, she was exceptional.
The greatest of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well done to that. A tremendous event. And how's your how's the Super 15 getting on?
Okay, Blade. So we had 7 games this weekend, and some of them pretty difficult to predict. Once again, I got the scores. Didn't get all the scores right, but
Do you
I just
do
wanna start
Super
off-
Brew?
No, I don't do Super Brew. I hold my own little. I hold my own little pool with John Mitchell, Corne Krige, Marius Jabeur, Tank Lanning, Robert Bloomberg, and myself, and we try and predict, each week.
Yeah.
And Mitch is in front. Not by much, but he's in front. But some of the weeks are easy to predict. Like last week, one bloke got 7, and I got 6 out of 7. And some weeks are impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
you get sort of 1 out of 6, and
Yeah.
it's the one where where everyone got it right. So,
Okay. Well, who got the Stormers?
I think Corne got the Stormers right.
That's betting with his heart.
Yeah, Corne and Tank. Well, they're all Cape Town based.
Yeah,
Except
sure.
for Mitch.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And who got the and who got the? Come on, be honest now. Who got the Lions?
Nobody. None of the group. There were some that predicted the Stormers.
Yeah.
None predicted the Lions.
None predicted
No one gave the Lions a hope.
Yeah.
And they were close against the Force last week. I thought, like I've posted, I thought they were desperate to get lucky, particularly with a couple of decisions. That yellow card, TMO interference was a poor intervention, and I'm not saying it cost the Lions the game, but it certainly had an influence on the way the game was played.
Yeah.
And they haven't, they only got smoked once on tour. I think by the Chiefs, who are devastating when they open their game up. And I think the Lions played a bit naively in that game. But I mean, they haven't been. They should have won that Highlanders game. We spoke about that last-minute conversion where the ref either didn't know his laws or he didn't apply them.
Yeah.
And so they're not playing that badly. But and to pick up 5 wins in their first campaign, I think is a very credible performance.
I think they've scrummed magnificently, and I think with the talent they have available, when they lost Franco van der Merwe, who was one of their 2 Springboks in their squad, where you see the Sharks have got like 3 Springboks sitting on the bench. I have got the utmost admiration for Johan Ackermann, and the Lions play attractive rugby. They play not attractive, entertaining rugby. And we had the comment from the panel, no names, no practical, at Supersport saying, that the Lions-Bulls game was a good game to watch. And the Sharks Storm was a pretty dull affair.
Correct. Yeah, look, I think I've spoken at length about Marnitz Boshoff and Warren Whiteley. I think they're outstanding contributors. And I think they could step up to the next. I'd love to see them at the next level up. I really think they've got real ability. I'm not sure whether they fit into the thinking of the Bok management, because perhaps they're not. Certainly Warren's probably not big enough. But
yeah.
I just think that they're magnificent rugby players. And if you hear the Warren Whiteley story, obviously you'll have a lot more respect for him than you do already. Not you personally, but the public. But I think one of the guys who I'd like to actually...
Well, what is the Warren Whiteley story?
No, he just came from he had a lot of difficulty breaking through. He had to travel a bit. He went around the country. He wasn't always a shoe-in. He's captaining the team in the Super Rugby, and he's not a youngster. So he had to pay his dues. And it's a good story, Blades, because...
Yeah, no, you're right. In that vein, he's hung in there and he's come through very well, as has Marnitz Boshoff, because Marnitz Boshoff, has been around the block. I mean, he started at the Bulls. He was signed up by the Bulls when he was still at Nelspruit Hoërskool. And then, went to the Bulls, and there were 4 fly halves at the Bulls, and so he didn't get a lot of game time at junior level. And then he went to Griquas, and J.C. Roos was at Griquas at the same time. So Marnitz sort of hung in there, and then finally, the Lions gave him a chance, and look how he's come through.
Yeah. Oh, that guy could play in a lot of international teams. I really rate him. I rest him a couple of times towards the end of my career.
Yeah.
Notably in one game at Loftus, where the Lions beat the Bulls by 60 odd points to 20. And Monarchs Boshoff was the playmaker the whole day, from the beginning to the end. Not just, I mean, he took the contact pretty well. He took the ball up to the gain line. His kicking in the pocket was great. His goal kicking was good, kicking out of hand. He was a consummate all-rounder. I thought he was fantastic. And I've seen the step up to Super Rugby, and I think he's handled himself brilliantly.
Yeah.
I rate him.
Great
And
stuff.
there's another guy, Blades, called Julian Riedlinghuis, who I think is the best tight end in South Africa. Now, I'm going out on a limb. There's other guys that have been chosen ahead of him.
Yeah.
I say Julian Riedlinghuis is the best tight end in South Africa.
Wow, that's a revelation. Okay, Julian Riedlinghuis, who is the Lions' tight head prop. Now, the Lions, I can tell you also that you probably know this, Jonathan does, but there is a company called Opta Sport, who put out stats every weekend, or every week, should I say, after every weekend. And the number of lineouts, like Victor Madfield's won like 95 lineouts.
Yeah.
And the percentage success rate at scrums. And the Lions were top in terms of their scrum percentage. And their front row has done outstandingly. And there you mentioned Julian Riedlinghuis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blades, I've got an eye for talent, and sometimes it doesn't need to be at a big union. I've noticed lots of players repping in those minor unions, as I love to do.
Yeah.
As I love to do. But you mark my words, Julian Riedlinghuis will be a Springbok within it. He should be a Springbok now, but I reckon he's a strong chance to go to the World Cup as backup to. Obviously, they're going to stick with Yanni because of his experience. But
yeah, they're going to stick with Yanni, and it looks like Kuni's, also a front runner for the tight head position.
Yeah, look, I must say, I think Julian Riedlinghuis is a much better tight head than Kuni, but Kuni has got other things. His ball carry is amazing.
Yeah.
His work rate around the park, he does the odd steal. So you're not going to get me off the Kuni Oosthuizen bandwagon that easily. I rate him very highly, but I think just as a tight head, I think Julian Riedlinghuis is the best tight head scrummaging tight head in South Africa.
Okay, well, there's a revelation for you, Julian Riedlinghuis, who was down at the Sharks, in fact, and had some time at the Sharks. Comes from Monos. Monos produce a lot of rugby players, hey?
Yeah, they had a brilliant result on the weekend, because I don't think that's a weak Glenwood team either.
No, I was there, and they ultimately gave Glenwood a club. Not only, score-wise, because it was 30 points to 9, but they also, the second half, Monos just totally dominated the game. And Glenwood have got 12 boys. You're quite right. They've got 12 in the squad, the KwaZulu-Natal squad of 23 for the Coca-Cola Craven Week.
It's good to see, actually, that, Monos have come back, because they went through a period where they're obviously the best Joburg school, and they have been for some time, but they just weren't hacking it with the, other schools around the country. But they look like this year is a champion year.
Yeah, they're doing very well. They've played 18 games already. They've lost 2 of them, but they drew with Grey, Bloemfontein, who are unbeaten.
Yes.
And so they've had good results. And Hans Kutsia, their coach, said the Lions, Golden Lions, Craven Week side has not been picked or announced officially, but he intimated to me that there would be 8 to 10 Monos boys in the side. So they did well.
What a lovely man! What a lovely man, Hans is.
Yeah, no, terrific, really good. Jono, now, so let's have a look. Were there any refereeing situations that you could point out over the weekend?
Yeah, look, Blake, let's start off with the first game. It was the Crusaders against the Force. And the Force were in the game right till the death. But, a lot of people asked me about, there were 2 penalty tries awarded by the referee, a New Zealand referee in New Zealand, in Christchurch, for the Crusaders towards the end of the game, which blew the score out to the final score 30 points to 7. The referee in question is a guy called Mike Fraser, who's one of the up-and-coming New Zealand referees. And I looked at both of those decisions quite carefully, and I think he has done exceptionally well. There was one more situation which was close to the line, and he had penalised the force a number of times, and then really had no option but to give the penalty try. And the second one is a clear-cut scrum domination against the force, and he's had no other option but to go under the sticks again. So yes, there are 2 penalty tries in the last 5 minutes of the game, but I think in this respect the referee deserves a lot of credit, because when teams get close to their line, they do things out of desperation, let's say. And so big ups to Mike there. The second game between the Reds and the Highlanders, for me, was probably the best game of the weekend. I don't know if you agree. Did you watch it, Blades?
Just say that again. Sorry, I was just having a look at it. We've got guys tweeting like crazy here. So I have to confess, I didn't catch that last sentence.
No, I just said the Reds Highlanders was probably the game of the weekend, and it was very, very. It was more so because of the excellent refereeing of Andrew Lees, who allowed the players to decide the outcome. He was very strong in the areas where he needed to be, and allowed a game which absolutely flourished. And at the end, the Reds snatched it with a try after the 80 minutes was up, and it was a thrilling game. It was a high-class Super Rugby game, and it was a high-class refereeing performance. So, I've criticised Andrew this year for a couple of bum calls, but I think he's definitely stood up in this game and refed very, very well. I thought the Waratahs were better than the Chiefs, and they are my...
The Waratahs? Wow, watch out for the Waratahs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got... Mitch pointed out a very important point, and that is that their game does rely a little bit on referees policing the breakdown well. But if the referee does his job there, I think they're the best team in the Super Rugby competition.
Yeah, okay.
Then the Blues surprised the Hurricanes. Historically, that's not a surprise, but you would have thought the Hurricanes were on a roll, and they'd probably want to give Mark Hammett a little bit of a farewell gift. But
and the Hurricanes have got that superb backline.
Superb. But once again, the Blues are the most unpredictable team. It is so difficult to know which team is going to pitch up.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. They've got weapons. They've got so many weapons, but they just, you never know whether they're going to front up or not.
Yeah, I know.
The Brumbies dominated the Rebels, and no real controversy there. And then we go to that Lions-Bulls game, which once again. I didn't predict the Lions would win, but, they dominated, and they dominated well. And like I said to you, I mean, we've discussed it already. They play with a smile on their face, and it's an absolute pleasure to watch them.
Yeah.
I think with this, I think the Bulls have finally shot their bolt. I don't think that they're going to make it on the back of this loss.
Yeah, I think it's a shame, but I do think that the Bulls are now out of the running. The other thing about the Bulls is it really doesn't seem like they've got a plan B. If they're kicking game and the chasing up and unders and that type of thing, which let's face it, is their game. If that does not work, it just appears to me that they don't have a plan B. And the Lions worked them out, and I think tactically the Lions played incredibly well. One of the guys who's impressed me the most this season is Faf de Klerk.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. When he came on Saturday, he had a brilliant break. He kicked well. He just seemed to turn the game around and just close it out for the Lions.
Yeah, a very high energy when he came on. And I think, Blades, there's another guy who is capable of even stepping up to the next level. I think, just from chatting to a couple of the Lions management, that he's just got a couple of flaws in his game that he needs to work on himself.
Yeah.
But in terms of the product, the value added that he brings when he comes off the bench, most games I thought his contributions were amazing.
Well done to him. I mean, a season or two ago, he was the number 2 scrum half at the Pumas.
Yeah. No, he's come on, and the thing what I like about him is he's not just doing the basics. He does a lot around the park. His tackling, he tackles guys that are twice his size, and his work rate at the breakdown is good, and his communication seems to be very good. So, he's also a guy to watch. Perhaps not right now, but with natural development, he could, he could be around for some time to come.
Yeah. Jono, just explain to our listeners, there were a number of penalties given on Saturday in the Bulls game for hinging.
Yes.
Can you just explain those front row laws? Because I tell you, at the moment, I've got tweets coming out of my ears, but everybody's having a go at one another. Now, guys, stop having a go at one another. Viv Pike, Sharonica Nell, Leon Petzer again, Viv. They're all having a go at one another, but some are Stormers fans and some are Sharks fans. So they're having a bit of a go at one another about that. So guys, don't have a go at one another on my show. Let's have some comments from JK.
Let's just talk quickly about hinging so that we get the public up to speed. So a hinge in the scrum is when one of the props, generally a loose head, his body angle does not take the weight there is no hit, but the weight of the scrum, or the hit in inverted commas, and the angle of his body is head facing the ground and hips up in the air. And there was some clear evidence of that in the Bulls-Lions game.
Yeah.
And I think it was Morné Mellet was penalised a couple of times by referee Craig Jabber.
Yeah.
And I think the penalties were absolutely spot on. And there cannot be a complaint. And generally how the Lucets must try and offset that issue is they've got to try and get their, it's not line speed, they've got to try and engage much quicker and with more power than they do to stop the fold or the hinge.
Yeah, so in other words, the front ranker who is at fault has not gone off his feet. He's on his feet, but his head is way lower than his hips.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And often it's the loose head, and it's because he's not engaging quickly enough, or he's not cutting down the space fast enough so that he ends up in a compromised position.
Okay. And then, breaking the bind, normally breaking the bind is when a player actually goes off his feet, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think breaking the bind sometimes, it happens both lucid and tight head, but probably a little bit more so on the tight head side when they start to feel a bit of heat, and so they break their bind to survive. And once again, you're not going to. There will be some instances of it periodically in games, and it's generally when the tight head's under pressure.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Anything to now? What about the Sharks Stormers game?
Yes. Okay. So the Sharks Stormers game, we've already said it wasn't the most beautiful game to watch. There was a lot at stake for the Sharks, and obviously the Stormers with Gert and Henrik Erika now at the helm, or making some adjustments to their battle plan. They look like they're on an upward curve. They don't score a lot of points. They still haven't scored a lot of points, but they are improving, and they're playing rugby in the right areas of the park.
Yeah.
And that's been impressive, a turnaround in the last 4 weeks. The players understand that, and they look to me like they're delivering on that.
Yeah.
Is this a champion team? Even if they would have won, many games on the tour that they could have won, I still think they've got holes in their setup, and they're going to have to look at different types of recruitment. But I wouldn't say that they weren't deserving winners on the weekend. And the reason it's not for any other reason other than they coped with playing away from home very well. They coped with a very strong Sharks pack, and for some reason the Sharks tried to engage the Stormers at their strength, which is tackling in and around the breakdown, and I think they came second.
Yeah.
By a long way.
Yeah.
They were made to look just like an average team, and the Sharks are better than that. They're not an average team.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think the Stormers do deserve credit for ending up winning the game. And I think the Sharks could have played a lot better than they did. So perhaps there's just food for thought down the track. There was one interesting decision, Blades, which I think your sort of viewers may have picked up, and that was the last decision where it was a play on Sean McLeod kicked the ball upfield, and he, a lot of people said he should have kicked it out, and they should have taken the ball through a few phases to wind the clock down. Yes, all of those things, but that's not what happened. So then the Stormers seem to win the ball and then lose the ball, and then the ball emerges from the back of a Sharks ruck, and I seem to think that the ball hit a Sharks player's boot, and then a player ahead of that actually ended up playing the ball, which resulted in the Stormers getting possession, taking it upfield, and eventually getting that winning drop kick. So I actually feel that wasn't the greatest decision by
Jaco Peyper.
By Jaco Peyper. And I'm just concerned. It's not so much just the referee, because we're a team of referees. I'm just concerned that his support crew never pointed this out to him. So he ended up in a situation where now the Stormers have won. And like I've said repeatedly, I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to win, because they may well have deserved something out of that game. But I just think, towards the end of the game, a critical decision like that, everybody needs to be switched on, and those decisions need to be accurate.
Yeah, sure. And funnily enough, another Mona's boy who kicked the drop, Jaco Tauta.
Oh, I didn't know he was Mona's.
Yeah. It actually is quite an interesting fact that Mona's, who look to have a strong pack every year, have produced Christo Wagner, Brendan Fenter, Yuri Muller, Jacques Ferry, and Jaco Tauta. How's that? Hey, five of the 7 Springboks they've produced, 5 of them basically are centers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even
amazing.
Tauta, I think Tauta played a bit of center as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He played center for the Springboks. And I say, the Hanke van der Merwe and Willem Alberts are the other 2. So the center factory.
Not too shabby either.
Duncan Betteridge. Duncan says, would you love to referee one more game, the Boks versus the World 15?
Why is he offering? Listen, I've retired as a professional referee. I've said that repeatedly. If anyone wants me for any game, they just need to get hold of me, and I'm available.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Are you doing schools? So you're doing schools games?
Yeah, I'm doing schools, and schools from around the country have invited me. I went to a Graham Festival there. Dale invited me over. Even some smaller schools, Blades, have asked me in the George area and the Boerland area to come and do their local derbies. And as long as it doesn't interfere with their structures and setups, I'm happy to assist where I can.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You hear that? You hear that, everybody? That's great.
I've made a 5-year commitment to schools rugby, and I'm going to try and do as much as I can for as long as I can at that level, and hopefully the legs will hold out. Yeah,
great stuff. Yeah, the second team game, the curtain raiser on Saturday, the referee was none other than Marius Jonker.
Oh, awesome!
Who then must have gone over to Ellis Park, because I think he was on the touch for the Lions Bulls game.
He was the TMO, Blade.
That's quite right. He was the TMO. How's that for dedication to rugby? Referee a second 15 game and then go and be a TMO in Super Rugby. Duncan Betteridge, I hope that answers your question. Gary Late, I would have loved to have seen a new scrummy in the Boks squad, de Klerk, Reinach, or Saro P rather than Ruan Pienaar. Okay, well, that is your opinion, Gary. And that is why sport is sport, because everybody is a selector and everybody can have an opinion. And at the end of the day, the selectors pick who they think are the best. I was at a breakfast on Thursday morning. Now, the panel was John Allen as MC, Gary Teichman, who's really in good nick and doing very well in business, which is great to see. And Ian Mack. Now, Ian Mack and Peter Ewerster. Peter Ewerster, let me tell our listeners and viewers, was a great hero in the apartheid days amongst the colored people. He was a real hero in colored rugby. And he's a big man, Peter Ewerster. And he and Ian Mack are the Springbok selectors along with Heineken Meyer. And I made the point, now we're talking about these new scrummies and Ruan Pienaar, and I made the point that nobody's ever been to a fourth World Cup or even a third World Cup for that matter and been successful. And Mac actually sort of shot me down in flames a little bit. He sort of said, we've got to use experience. That's when I thought, Victor Matfield's going to be captain of the Springbok side for these upcoming tests. So, and Ruan Pienaar's another one with a lot of experience, and I sort of was saying, give the youngsters a chance, but Mac was sort of gunned me down a bit. But that, that was just, I say, everybody can be a selector and everybody has an opinion. They're obviously, the one glaring omission to me is Heinrich Brousseau.
For me too. I cannot believe that people don't see his value. And this is for me, it's absolute nonsense that they say he gives away too many penalties. Since he came back to Free State, their defensive effort has improved hand over fist. And, I think in South Africa, unfortunately, this obsession with size. And Heinrich Brousseau adds huge value to any team that he represents. And he's got the heart of a lion as well. So I'm disappointed for him.
Yeah, sure. Dirk Snoek Henkemans is praising Faf de Klerk. He's saying Faf de Klerk. Well, I think by the time Faf came on, Hooghart was actually on the wing. Dirk says Faf made Hooghart look like an amateur, and I'm a Bull supporter. I think by the time Faf came on, Hooghart was pretty much playing on the wing. But I think Faf made a tremendous impact on that game when he came on. Okay, Leon, we know that that's an old one. He's saying there are only two types of coaches, one that has been fired and one is about to be fired. Thank you for your little tweet there. And then we have... now, the juniors are playing. Jono, I don't know whether you got a chance to see the juniors. I didn't. I have to confess I clean forgot that they were playing yesterday. I thought they were playing tonight. And so I was watching Federer being beaten and Djokovic winning. So I forgot about the baby box. Great win against Scotland.
It was 61-5. It's still, I'm not sure the quality of the Scotland team, but they seem to hold South Africa for a long time. Then, the floodgates opened, and I think Andre Pollard actually was quite instrumental in doing that. And I looked at the highlights reel, and his contribution in terms of attack was excellent. So,
good.
I'm hopeful that our team can do well. There looks to be a couple of excellent stars of the future in that team.
Yeah,
it's just a matter. It's just a matter to be seen whether they actually compete well against the better teams.
This is the point. This is the big point: is if they play the correct type of rugby, and New Zealand have won the tournament. I see that England are the defending champions, but New Zealand have won the competition far, far more than anyone else. And they do play a pretty good brand of rugby. And if our guys can play tactically an astute game, we can be right up there, because we are in the same section as the All Blacks. The next game, I think, is against the Baby Blacks.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. History shows that all teams that go over to New Zealand, especially in competition format, very rarely come away with success. So no matter how much we want, and we all support all the box teams, it's going to be really, really difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah, right. Okay, Jono, I think that's about it for today. And thanks very much for your insight. Thanks very much for your insight into hinging and the laws in the front row of the scrum. And well done once again on your comrades. And thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Blades. Enjoyed it. Go well.
Cheers.
Balls.co.za